thank you for coming to the Rice Pudding Project, Mr. Luke Mathews.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't know if do you have a middle name?
William.
William.
Yeah.
Ah, like my son. My son's called William.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
his
good.
middle name as well.
Good strong name.
It is. You know, with the Conqueror, William Tell, and those are the two Williams I know that are the most important ones. And besides yourself and my
Exactly,
son. Yeah. So this is the Rice Pudding Project. As you were just saying, you like a bit of rice pudding. I hate a bit of rice pudding. I hate rice pudding. This is why.
Why call it Rice Pudding Project?
Because rice pudding it makes me gag, makes me throw up, and it's something I cannot eat because I was forced as a child to eat rice pudding. So it's like it's basically justified, like it's a symbol, let's say, of despite difficult things in life, still, you know.
Make good things of?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I love rice and I love pudding, but I just never been able to eat them together. So one day I will eat rice pudding, and it's like it's my quest. But it's basically it's a symbol of my childhood. Like, so my thing was like rough, tough childhood, and despite of it, I think I've turned out pretty okay. I hope, and so that's why I made it rice pudding. So this is about having people on the show talking about their lives, successful people I look up to, people I admire, jealous of, FOMO, all that kind of stuff, and the challenges that they've gone through in life. So
why am I here?
You're here,
I should
exactly.
be leaving, right?
You're here because of. I was hoping you introduced me to somebody. So obviously you are, like you said, Luke Mathews. You're coach,
Yep.
triathlon coach,
Yep.
professional triathlete.
Yeah.
You were a competitive swimmer as a younger man.
Questionable competitive, but yeah,
Okay.
I did okay, yeah.
Okay, you did okay. You're a very, very good athlete. Father, brother, and husband. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
I actually really like rice pudding.
Yes, rice pudding. Okay.
And just a little one on there, sneaking into the cupboard when I was younger,
Yeah.
I used to sneak in to get it. Ambrosia rice pudding.
I was going to say, is it ambrosia?
Yeah,
I know, I
yeah,
remember that because that's
it's
with the
classic.
cat.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yes.
back to the story.
No, that's so like someone. When I was in Scotland last year for the Fringe Festival, my mate, his kids love rice pudding. They just like mad about it, and they couldn't find, like, they were looking for rice pudding, and then they went and they were like, we like this specific brand. And I was all right, so I went to the store, went for a walk one day, and I was like, I was in the local Asda's there, so I went and I bought like different rice puddings, and they're like, oh, you should try this. I'm like, no. It was like one was with cherries, strawberries, honey, plain. I'm like,
Not for you.
yeah, none of them. So yeah, it's a weird thing because I really like milk.
Yeah.
I don't drink it anymore much now besides in coffee, but I just can't do rice pudding. It's also fried eggs. It's a few dishes. I just can't. I can't. So you turned pro, what, 3 years ago?
No, it's literally back end of 2023. So yeah, 2023. And then this has been the first full year, 2024, of trying the professional triathlon world.
But you've been doing triathlon for years, because I've known you for a while now, and
Yep.
you were always competing at a high level. Like, you went
Yep.
to the World Champs, you went to Kona,
Yep.
which is the Holy Grail.
Yep.
You've been there, you went to 2013.
Twice, 213, good memory, 213 and 215. Yeah.
250, okay. Yeah. And then what was your times there?
First year was, to be honest, when I first went there, I didn't even really know much about Ironman Kona. I've qualified on my first attempt, one of those lucky guys, and
As you do.
as you do.
Yeah.
And my first time, I think it was 9:45.
Oh, you broke 10 hours?
Broke 10 hours on my first attempt. So then that's what kind of led to where I am today. I was like, well, I might be quite good at this sport, So it was a bit of an eye-opener,
Okay, so for people who don't know what an Ironman is, it's not just Robert Downey Jr. on Marvel. It is, an Ironman race is not equivalent. It is a, damn, I've forgotten now.
3.8
Thank you,
swim.
3.8 kilometer swim, 180 kilometer bike ride, followed by a short run, which is a marathon, which is 42.2 kilometers.
Correct.
And the average person, respectable runner, if they break a marathon in under 4 hours, that's respectable.
Yeah,
You've got to
of
say,
course.
like, that's just getting up, training for 6 months, and then just going to run a marathon. That's before the swim and the run.
Correct, yeah.
Swim and the bike. And and the cutoff for an Ironman is 17 hours, right?
Yeah, the big events.
The big event,
The classic
the class-
Ironman cutoff is 17
the full
hours,
is 17 hours, and you did it in under 10 hours,
Yeah.
which is something like very, not even respectable. It's like admirable. I mean, not
yeah.
comparing to Keenlay, not Keenlay,
Yeah,
for I don't know who
yeah,
did something
well,
crazy,
yeah,
which is,
exactly.
but regardless, on the first attempt, that's insane, and
it's
especially at Kona, right?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is the lava.
the lava field. It's just coming up very shortly, and it always takes me back to those times, and because it's the heat and the humidity over there, it's a killer, right?
Yeah,
because it's on
it's hot
volcanic
as hell.
island. So
How long was your swim?
how long was it?
Yeah.
It took me, I think that time was about 56 minutes, but it was non-wetsuit, right? Like, I know because the water's warm. Yeah.
I laugh because when I did St. Polton, when I didn't finish because I couldn't do the run, and this is a half, it took me an hour and 7 minutes to do the swim, which is half the distance of that. And you did double the distance in a faster time. Nice.
St. Polton's a challenging one because it's got the split run in between, right?
Yeah, but you feel like it's like 14 kilometers,
yeah,
but it's only like 300 meters. Yeah, I remember that one. All right, and then, because you didn't. Why did it take you like
so long?
Yeah, to become
decide.
a pro. Yeah, you thought life wasn't hard enough as it was, so you said, "I'll have a wife. I'll get married. Sorry, not have a wife. I'll get married. I'll have a child, and then I'll go through the life-threatening." Problems that you had, which we'll talk about, and then I said, you know what, let's just become a professional triathlete at the tender age of 32, 31?
No, I'm 40 next year. I'm an old boy.
You decided to become a pro
at the age of 38, right? So
as you do.
But the reason for that is I don't want to live with regrets, right?
Perfect.
Like, what's the point? Like, I mean, I don't want to be that guy in the pub at the age of 50 saying, I should have, I could have. Do you know what? I was really good at that sport. I could have been pro. We've all got those friends, right?
Yeah. But I don't see you in the pub though. Like,
you won't see me. I don't see them. Okay, sat having coffee. I didn't want to be that guy. I'd rather try something, fall flat on my face and say I've tried it, than not try it at all. And this is what this project has all been about. It's a pure passion project. It is. Like, I'm never going to be the best in the world. I'm never going to be competing with those young guns. Like, I can't. All I can do is the best that I can do. Racing age group was a lot of fun, but it was coming to a point where it wasn't challenging enough.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm never going to be, like I said, the best in the world. But it's that midpoint of I either carry on doing the age group and probably winning most of them.
Yeah,
and
which you were doing. You were doing consistently. Yeah,
that's just like that was the standard.
Yeah.
Or I try something else. And trying something else is scary and it's daunting. And there's sometimes in life where you've got to try things that are scary and daunting, right? To find the best in yourself. And that was a big driver. And Ezra, my son, is that big driver as well. He's my huge why of like, I want to be able to say to him, Dad tried. Did he fail? Who knows? I've still got a couple more years left at it, right?
Yeah.
Like I say, we're not getting any younger. But I've got to try doing this live for a little bit to show him as well. Like, it's never too late.
Okay. That's insane, because I remember we spoke about it a few times at Cycle Hub, and you're like, would you go pro? And you're like, no. You, as a younger man, you're like, I'm not really that fussed.
Yep.
And
my wife pushed me as well. She, like, I'd said to her,
do.
and she's like, it's that you need someone in your corner, right? And she's always been in my corner. Like, I coach a lot of guys who don't have a wife who's in their corner, and it's super hard for them to train. My wife, she's only ever known me as an athlete, so I think that really helps. And she's like, if you don't do it now, you will never, ever do it. And it is literally, I had to do it now. And yeah, it's challenging. It is super challenging, but great.
Yeah, I would never have gone into comedy or done the triathlons if it wasn't for Becky as well. She supported me.
Good
she pushed me.
Lass, right?
Huh?
Good
exactly. It's the Lincolnshire. Yeah, exactly. She's she's the driving force. Like with the comedy, she was like, either you're gonna she's like, I was talking about it for years, and she's like, either stop talking about it and do it, or please stop talking about it because I'm tired of hearing about it. Like I'm tired of like, because then tomorrow you're gonna be like again in the pub saying I could have been somebody, and you're gonna blame me, you're gonna blame your son. So just get off and do it, and that's it. And now she regrets, I'll come. I'm like, listen, I got this joke, and she just looks at me. She's like, I'm not your audience. Like just go and speak to somebody else. So
brilliant.
But then again, like, so we touched base on it, like, but you nearly died.
Correct,
no bullshit.
Yeah.
Like you really, like you went through that harrowing, crazy experience, and then you're like, and then you had after that. You were married then, or you were dating then?
No, so I mean, this is another reason why and how she stuck around, right? Nicola, my wife, she stuck around, and it was only 6 months into a relationship when it all happened.
Was that after a race, or
no? So we'd basically gone to see my in-laws to be in Zambia. So we'd gone over there for a short stay. It was like 4 nights. Had an amazing time. My wife's originally Zimbabwean, and her father was working in Zambia at the time. So we got a flight over to spend a few nights for me to meet the parents, see how all that goes. It went very, very well. Apart from getting on the plane, my stomach was it was like in knots, and it was really, really painful, but I couldn't explain it. But I thought, well, I've been in Africa, maybe I've just eaten something dodgy.
Food poisoning.
Yeah, of course, right? Yeah. And was walking to the plane, because it's only a small airport in Zambia there, and I said to Nicola, just give me my passport, you go on the plane, I just need to be sick. And you get that watery feeling. And so I went off, and I tried to be sick, I couldn't be sick, but the plane was like, there was calling last calls, right? So I was like hobbling onto the plane. I was sat next to Nicola, and she's like, you need to get off this plane, you don't look right. I was like, no, it's fine, we'll get back to Dubai and we'll sort it.
Yeah, because you don't want it to be like, oh, it's just gas.
Yeah, exactly, exactly that. Well, we got up in the air, and obviously I'll keep it pretty basic.
No, it's okay. It's right. We'll bleep out anything.
And basically I ran to the toilet, and both ends exploded, and I was in a hell of a world of pain.
On the plane?
On the plane. It's a small plane. There's one toilet in the whole plane, so you don't want to hog it because other people have got to go. I literally crawled out the plane. Out the toilet, sat by the side and just said to the air hostess, I said, I've got to stay close to here because I'm not in a good way. Nicola comes over, she starts like, he's not right, whatever. Then doctors on the aeroplane. There was luckily 2 doctors on the airplane. Obviously, they couldn't assess what it was. And long story short, I get pulled off the plane in Kenya because that's where we dropped down into Kenya.
But that wasn't that you were planning to go there?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
And it was
How many hours was that?
Kenya to Dubai. I think it's like 2 hours. It felt like a lifetime. Like I was in so much pain. I was like grinding down my teeth. I was just, it was not good. I was just trying not to scream because I didn't want to worry everyone else on the plane, but it was that much pain. I'd never felt it in my life. So we get off the plane in Nairobi. This doctor comes into me as he pulls me onto the ambulance.
Oh, okay.
And he tries to give me some pain meds, and he's like, this will get rid of the pain. Well, this pain med didn't work. And then he realised, you could see the shock in his eyes, this guy's not kidding. We blue lighted without any visas into Nairobi, straight into the hospital. Some hours went by, they started to get some different meds into me to sort of just, dull the pain. It was working, but not greatly. Basically, one doctor, a surgeon, looks at me after an x-ray and he says, we need to operate.
Just like that?
Yeah.
After an x-ray?
Yeah.
This is like half an hour, 40 minutes into it.
Before that, there was like, I could be gas. So I'm in the toilet. Toilet thinking of The Last King of Scotland, where James McAvoy goes behind Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah.
And just gives him a big bump exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm in the toilet doing that because I'm thinking, this could be gas.
Oh, fuck.
What it actually is my large intestine is flipped and twisted and strangulated. So I've got a twisted gut. So it's the worst thing you could be doing is trying to pressure. Because if that pops,
flipped and twisted and
so it's called a volvulus, but it happens in horses a lot. And if it happens to a horse, you get shot, right? Like you're not going to survive it.
I'm sorry to be laughing, but I just,
I'm here to laugh about it.
It's just that, thankfully we don't, but how does that happen?
A birth defect, just it happened. It could have happened when I was 8 years old. It could have happened when I was 80. Like it just.
This is you just always like this.
Always had it. I'd had some bad stomach pains in the past, and they believe it had twisted, but it flipped itself back. Okay. But this time it flipped, twisted, and strangulated so much that it was basically like just distending more and more. So that's why my stomach was getting larger, and that's why the pain was getting worse.
Oh, so just like okay.
Exactly. Got some great pictures for you, which I can show you after.
Yeah, we'll add those later to the
And so this surgeon just says, we need to operate now. So I was rushed into Nairobi emergency, and not the place you want to have an operation. Like it isn't. Like it's not.
Not that you want to have an operation anywhere, but like that's not where you thought. Like
exactly. I mean, in Africa as a whole, South Africa would be quite nice, but I had no choices. That's where I was.
And how many hours was the operation?
The first one, I don't really recall, but I think it's probably about 4 or 5 hours.
So you go in straight away, 4 or 5 hours, and what they do, like untwist and stuff, or they cut?
No, they cut. So I lost half my large intestine. So they took half my large intestine out and attached it back to my small intestine. So I was very lucky not to come out with an olostomy bag, So very, very fortunate.
When people want to lose weight, they do those kind of operations as well, the sleeve or whatever it is.
But the thing for me was I thought I was going in for a keyhole operation. When I came out and they revealed I'd been opened up from top to bottom, from sternum to below my belly button, so I'd been with staples put me back together. So when they revealed this after the operation, because they'd not told Nicola too much
Keyhole.
what was going on. I thought I was going in for keyhole. I didn't get keyhole. I got a full slice and dice and opened up.
So you were...
Yeah, the whole thing, yeah. So that was the first operation. 5 days later, the small intestine had blocked. Back into the operating theatre. Some of my small intestine removed. Another 6 days later, my spleen ruptures. 3 operations in less than 2 weeks in Nairobi. So after the 3 operations, the doctors turned to me and said, if something else happens to you, we don't know what to do. You need to get out of here. That's when
That's just wonderful. Where do I go now?
Yeah, because they're at that point of like, there's too much. Like I've ended up in ICU, I've had so many blood transfusions, my body's struggling. And I mean, honestly, if I wasn't as fit as I was, I'd be dead. Gone.
But how much weight you must have lost, like?
So I went into the operation about 74 kgs. By the time I left, because I had to be medevaced out of Kenya on a private jet, thanks to one of my best friends. He's an ex-barrister, looked through all my insurance and finally found a clause that would work to get me flown out of there. Yeah. So that's very, very lucky. Your good friends come to your help when you need them, you know?
Yeah, the right ones.
And he was an absolute superstar. But yeah, ended up in Dubai for another 2 weeks and lost a bit more weight because I didn't eat for a month because I had to be tube fed because of losing so much internal
nothing
organs.
can go through.
Yeah, and the problem is with the spleen gone, that is a little infection fighter.
I was going to say that helps you fight against infections.
Yeah, and obviously as an athlete, we're hammering our immune system all the time. But unfortunately, I don't have that. But one person that really gives me hope is Geraint Thomas. Apparently, he lost his spleen when he was younger, and if you can win the Tour de France without a spleen, then I'm all right to crack on, right? He's still got all his intestines, but it was.
Do they go back on it? That's a stupid question, but so you're just without.
That's it. So I lost half a large intestine and some of my small intestine.
Okay,
that's it, gone for good.
Now, does the food? So how does the food? Does it?
It still works as normal.
Oh, it doesn't bypass or anything like that.
No, the large intestine is amazing at absorbing water.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I just don't have as much large intestine to absorb all the time, which is also not great for being long endurance events. But at the same time, you just got to deal with it, cope with it, right?
Gosh.
But I did go and see a doctor in London that happened in 2017, September.
Yeah.
By 2018, everything was going okay. I was told I wouldn't run for a long time, I wouldn't exercise, whatever. Obviously, I needed to beat that, and I did do, and I came back probably a bit too quick. But I did get an incisional hernia because I'd been opened up 3 times from top to bottom.
Yeah, what's that?
So basically, the abdominals had come apart. And it was just basically the intestine was popping out, but obviously the skin was stopping it.
Yeah.
So I had to go in and get a proper big, what they call a reach stopper mesh, but not a little one. It has to go through the whole abdominals. And I had to pay for that. So I went to see the best guy I could afford, which was on Harley Street in London. Fortunate enough to be able to do that. I mean, it wasn't my insurance covering it, but if I'm paying for it, I want the best, you know.
Yeah. How much that cost?
Too much. But at the same time, this doctor...
Triathlon bike? A good triathlon bike?
More, yeah. Oh, okay. And basically, he said to me, his name was Mr. Warren, and in his posh English accent, he was like, how the F are you still alive? He looked through my report in Kenya, and he was just like, nobody should survive this. He's like, the only reason is your level of fitness. He says, thank God you were so fit, because otherwise you're not coming home. And my parents, my wife-to-be and her parents, they all had those conversations behind my back that no one thought I was going to pull through. But the weird thing is, I never even thought I wasn't. Never once.
So 21 days of operations?
It was under 2 weeks of operations, and then it was another 2 weeks back in Dubai in the hospital trying to get on the mend again. But yeah, never once did I think, that's it, it's my time.
You didn't
never had those thoughts. It's weird. If it happened now, I probably would. But during that time, people like, did you ask for help? I was like, I don't know what mindset I was in at the time, but no, I didn't. I just always thought I was fine. I even found it a bit of a laugh and a joke at some points, you know. I can remember putting some Instagram stories or pictures on and this isn't too bad as long as I get to, because I had to learn to move again, walk again,
But that's an interesting mindset to some people, you have the people, the motivational speakers and whatever, the Goggins and stuff, they're like, I just bowed through because I was like, fuck, I looked in the mirror. But you weren't even thinking that there was a problem? You just thought, like, what's that kind of...
I just put my trust in the people that were around me, and the doctors.
Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, ideally it wouldn't have been Nairobi. Was the healthcare great? No, because the third operation, losing the spleen, was a surgical error, which would have happened.
They snipped it.
Accidentally. That's what Mr. Warren in London believed, because he's like, there's no way the spleen should... But at the same time, if they didn't operate on me, I'd be gone.
Yeah.
So it's, win, lose. But at the same time, like, it's just one of those parts in life that, I didn't even think it was my time, Strange.
And where's that come from, that mindset? Is it from, like, your parents when you were a kid? Was it from swimming? Was it from sport? Like, what was it that...
I think our sport, the endurance sport has teaches it's the long game, right?
Yeah.
For sure. It really has. Like, nothing comes quickly, and it's always going to be a long process to get to where you want to be. Will you ever get to where you want to be? Probably not, but try and get as close as you can, right?
Once you get injured, it's depressing.
It's
you not get depressed. Depressing.
There you go. I was just about to mention. So whilst I was in that moment, I was fine.
Yeah.
It was the aftermath that was the worst. So when I had time to reflect, time to think, how my life wasn't going in the direction I wanted it, then I did, I got depressed. I got heavily depressed, and it was horrible. I was in a dark hole for quite a long time, and I was trying to run a business, and I was trying to, I was still in a new relationship, right? And I was trying to recover, and I was trying to do everything, and it was horrible, absolutely horrible. And I had to go see people about it, and there's nothing wrong with that,
No.
And I think it's a good thing to do. I believe even now I should even go and see maybe a sports psychologist a bit more, or something to point me in the right direction with that side of stuff. But I think I struggled with like a PTSD, because I used to wake up in the middle of the night, think I'd have been opened up again. And like you're in the dream and your intestines are all out and you're like, oh no. And when I show you the photos, you'll see what I mean about like classic Africa. They just showed me without even asking, oh, this is what we removed. This is what we had to do. And I'm just like,
they showed you a picture of it?
Yeah. Straight up after the operation.
Like in the little container, this is where it is?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
But so dark times afterwards. During, absolutely rocket focus. I'm going to be fine. But then like you say, injury, illness, sickness. When you are then processing what you're going through, that's the hard part, right?
From the time that you had the rupture to the time that you raced again, whether it was a sprint, I don't know what it was a sprint. It must have been a sprint first, or maybe you were crazy. You went full on for an Ironman the first race. But like, how long did that take? So
from my last operation in 2018, so in between the operations and incisional hernia, I actually raced Italy 70.3 with an incisional hernia. I was told not to, but I was like, I know my body well enough, it's fine. It wasn't a great race, but I wanted to get back out there. Okay, so and that was how many months after the Zambia? I think that was about 8 or 9 months afterwards. So it wasn't that long, because I was told I wouldn't be, but I'd done a half marathon at 1:30. So I'd done a half marathon at 90 minutes in less than 5 months after the first operation. Of course. Half marathon under. But the big race was, I went and did Roth actually in 2019. So my last operation 2018. So it took me 11 months to go and do a full after the last operation. So Challenge Roth. Yeah. And then my goal was always to go back to Kona. So I was like, I will get through all this, and I will go back to Kona to tick that box to say you can go through all this, and I can still get back to where I was. But I'm in a place now where I was even better. I'm even better now than where I was pre-operations. Because in 2016, 17, you're lighter 18, now because you've got exactly. More aerodynamic. Well, that's what I'd hope, but it doesn't feel that. But yeah, so 2016, 17, 18 was the time where I was thinking if I was going to turn pro was it. But then it was, everything happened. 2020, I qualified to go back to Kona. COVID came. 21, we had my son. And then this was the final bit of like, now you need to turn pro. So then have you been back to Kona since, or? No. So Kona's happening very shortly, and I'll never go as a pro because I won't qualify because the standard's so high. Pro is what, top 20? There's the top 50 in the world go in the right, if you've got to get the right races to get there, and but the standard now is just so high. I've been out of it for so many years. Like, I don't follow it that much anymore. I mean, I was doing it, listening to it when Frodono and Kine were there, and just as Brownlee, one of the Brownlee, Alistair came into it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think. See, when you talk about the level of it, people need to understand that these are Olympic gold medal winners.
Yeah.
Like Brownlee,
Yeah.
Frodeno.
Yeah.
Like I think 2008 or something like that he won.
Brownlee, he did the double, right? 212, 216.
Yeah,
I think it was
he
Rio
did England and then
yeah,
and then
Rio.
Frodeno did before him.
Yeah.
So like these are not just people who who are like, I like to swim, I like to bike, I like to run.
Yeah.
They are Olympic
they're
gold
the best
medalists.
of the best,
They're the ultimate.
They're not doing full-time jobs like myself.
No,
It's fully 100%.
They train,
dedicated.
they rest.
Yeah.
They rest for a living. They're just recovering. They'll do their sessions and then they just chill for 6 hours.
Well, my coach even said to me, it's hard to explain to the wife that Netflix and chill is part of training, right? And it is, it's massive, right? Like it should be, because if you don't get the rest and recovery, you don't get any fitter. You can do all the sessions you want, but, and I'm terrible at switching off. I can't switch off. If I'm not training, I've got to be working, doing a bit of working, and if I'm not working, I want to be with Ezra. But I balance best I can to do the best I can and get the most out of me.
Well, the young kids, they don't, or the Gen Zs or what they call them, Netflix and chill is something different to them.
How is it?
Yeah, so you got the same look as you do. When COVID happened, they're like, what were you, the people asked me, what did you do? I was like, it was all right, I managed, I just Netflixed and chilled. They're like, did you? I'm like, yeah, every single day. They were like, you Netflix and chilled every day? I was like, yeah, every day for like hours every day. Like, that's what I was doing. And they're like, who? I was like, with my wife sometimes without my wife. And they're like, you did it with your wife like every single day? And how many kids do you have? I'm like, we've got the one kid. They're like, you didn't get pregnant during COVID? I was like, no. They're like, how did you do all that Netflix and chilling and not get? And I was like, what are we talking about here? They're like, do you know what Netflix and chill is? I'm like, yeah, you watch Netflix and you just chill at home. They're like, no, it means to... And I was like, how? They're like, that's what they do now. They message you like, would you like to Netflix and chill? And then you come over and then that's what it is.
I told you I'm an old boy now, man.
I'm telling you, I'm older than you. And they're like, because when I was telling them, I was like, I did it every single day. And they were looking, they're like, how old are you? I'm like, I'm 40. And they're like, every day. And you don't get tired. I was like, no, I'm a pro at it. And they're like, you're a pro. I'm like, 6 hours. If I want, I could go 6-7 hours a day. And they're like, what about your wife? I'm like, she gets bored. They're like, does she? I'm like, yeah. She can't last as much as me. But and they're like, so what do you do? I'm like, she just goes to sleep. And they're like, and what do you do? And they're like, I just carry on. And they were like, you just carry on while your wife's asleep. And I was like, yeah. What do you mean? And they're like, you don't know what it means, do you? And then they explained to me. I was like, okay, let's just be clear. When my wife is asleep, I don't.
Yeah, no.
No, no. I'm watching TV shows, like Friends marathons, and so yeah, but it is
that's
very.
The Netflix and chill, right?
That's the Netflix and chill. Yeah. There's a lot of those. It's like when you tell someone I'm thirsty, there's another thing as well. Like thirsty does not mean thirsty anymore. It means you're horny. I don't understand why that just can't be just like. But no, it's if you're thirsty for something, it's or the tea. If you want tea, it's like it's gossip or something. There's all these new things now. They're changing the language, and I can't keep up.
I don't even keep up with what Gen Z, whatever is. We was at a training camp the other week, and was all trying to work out what year was what, and who to blame for this, and baby boom was that, and now they're now called this, and we're called that, and I'm like, well,
you're I don't know what I am. I think you're a millennial.
I think we worked out millennial, which is also a Gen X. No, I could be totally wrong. I don't know. Anyway.
I don't know. I'm lost with all of that stuff. I have to make a joke about it, but it is important.
Yeah,
it's
rest and recovery, right? It's huge.
What got you into triathlon?
Randomly, I went down to London, and I watched the London Triathlon, and I just got inspired by it. That's literally how it happened.
What year was that?
Oh, I want to say around I came into the sport late, so I think it was 2011.
Okay.
And at that point, I was 95 kgs. I was big.
Were you?
Yeah, I was big. I was at that age in my life where I wanted to be big, wanted to be a gym goer. But I was like a rugby big. It didn't suit me. And I had to eat so many egg whites. And I went to bed eating cups of cashews and cheese and fats just to try and put on some weight, right? I went from a book. I did it off a book called From Scrawny to Brawny. I remember it. I can't remember who the author was. And I got big. And I was lifting heavy, didn't like it. Saw triathlon. I was like, used to swim a bit. I've always been all right running. Need to get myself a bag.
You never cycled?
No, not before starting triathlon. So then it all came into like a road. That was 2011, and then I did some sprints, I did some Olympics, and then I did Edinburgh Marathon in 2013 in May.
Yeah.
And I went sub 3 on my first ever marathon, went 2:58. So I was like, well, if I can do that, I can do an Ironman, right?
Yeah.
So that was in May. In August, I did Ironman Bolton, which is an absolute beast, of course.
Which is one of the hardest Ironman
back then
races
it was, the elevation
ever.
Was madness.
Cold and
I remember getting through the bike, a lot of family and friends there, and I was like, I'm not in that bad a place, you know, I feel all right. And then the run just hit me hard. And I think if someone gave me a gun, I remember at one point I'd have just shot myself because I was in such a world of pain.
But I've heard, people have told me that Ironman Bolton is one of the most brutal.
Yeah, it's got one of the biggest dropouts. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's not like, it's just cold.
Well, it can be cold and it's hilly.
Brutal. The
Bad
bike,
English roads, aggressive, it's just...
And the run's not flat as well.
No, the run's hilly as well. So, but yeah, that was the Kona ticket right there in 2019. I remember one of my teammates at the time was like, if you get this guy in the red calf guards up there, he's your ticket to Kona. I didn't really know what Kona was at the time. I was so new to the sport, I was just kind of winging it, you know? And I was like, well, that's a great target. Let's go. So then I was battling with this guy, battling. And I remember coming to one hill, putting a spurt in, finally got past him. But then my engine started to fade. And I remember going through one aid station, literally shoving pretzels, Coke, anything down me and get going again. And I managed to get in before him. I think I beat him by about 4 or 5 minutes in the end. But I think Bolton time was about 10 hours 15. Which is pretty good for my first.
Is very respectful for Bolton.
For that Bolton.
For Bolton, that is
for not
insane.
being known to the sport.
Yeah.
And if you look at the technology that I was using back then, like the bike was just an old Planet X, like the run shoes, there's certainly no carbons about, and so it was an eye opener to think, okay, I'm all right at this sport. And then in October we was on the flight to Kona. Yeah.
I was going to say to you, what's the race that you'd want to do that you haven't done, but you've done all the ultimate races, because Kona is number one bucket list. People will say Kona and Roth. Those are the two races that everybody wants to do.
On the long distance.
On the long distance,
sure.
Yeah. All right. Wow. Okay. What was your most memorable race?
Malaysia. It's in Malaysia in 2014, qualifying for Kona in 2:15.
That was hot.
Hot.
I think I remember seeing a picture of you with wonderful sun.
Yeah, that would be
those tan
good
lines.
Memory, yeah. Very good memory. I went across with the guy who helped me, Hayden, his name is, who helped me in Africa at the time of needs, and amazing holiday with him and his family. At the same time, it was brutal. I remember running with cramp in my feet, so my toes were curled over, but I just couldn't stop running because I wanted that Kona qualification. So I was just powering through. I was in all bits of not in a nice place whatsoever. But I got across the line, I got my Kona spot, so I was super happy. But that was probably my hardest, but most rewarding race, I think, because it was so hard, and I got through it, and I still got what I wanted.
And really, really hot. That one. Yeah. That's humid, right?
Humid and hilly.
Yeah.
There's a monkey hill. You're not allowed to eat any part during that section of it because you're going so slow that the monkeys could come and nick your food, right? Yeah, crazy. Monkey hill.
But I think Bustleton has something like that as well, that after a certain point, the flies are just insane.
Bustleton's mad for flies.
Yeah.
Just don't stop moving.
Yeah.
That's another reason just to keep going and going and going.
Bustleton, that was the one I couldn't finish. On the run, I stopped. But that was just shark attacks, kangaroo attack, bushfire. It was you told people, they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. I remember pulling up before the race, a couple of days before, you're just hanging around Bustleton, and I got to the traffic lights, and I parked, and I'd never seen a kangaroo before. I just remember from cartoons, the old Tom and Jerry or Bugs Bunny. And I was at the lights, so on the bike, and my wife was behind me on the bike, a couple hundred meters behind, and I just saw a kangaroo crossing, and I was in amazement, and I was like, that. She was like, yeah. I'm like, what do you mean, yeah? She's like, yeah, it's a kangaroo. I'm like, how is that? She's like, remember, I lived in Australia for a year and a half, and I was like, she's like, I've seen them all the time. And I was like, but that's a kangaroo.
And there's been people knocked off the bike in that race, eh?
Yeah, the guy got knocked off the bike, knocked into me.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's wrong? Like, he swerved and hit me. He says, did you see the kangaroo? I'm like, no, I was avoiding you. And he crashed into me. There was bushfires. People got taken to the hospital.
Yeah.
It's
a good race, though. Like
it's flat, it's nice if you can avoid.
That's where I got my third I've Kona qualified a few times, but to get the one after all the operations, I went to Busselton and got it. Because I went to Korea earlier in that year, and that was called off because of typhoon. So then I went to Busselton and got the spot.
I'll just ask you to answer one question. If it's cool, we answer it. If not,
what's the biggest lie you have ever told?
There you go.
Was it for good or to deceive? Why did you do it? That's not easy, hey?
You don't have to answer.
Yeah, that's a hard one, man.
Don't worry, because you don't want to tell a lie. Because as fathers, we don't tell lies.
Yeah, exactly.
We just said that's the question.
That's a good one.
As fathers, we don't tell lies.